I think we are all set up. Hi Jan, good evening my darling. Could you just let me know you can hear me? I can certainly see myself without any problems, but I've got the sound switched off on my phone, so whilst I can see comments, I can't hear, which is the usual activity. Let's just clear some of this stuff. Thank you, my darling. Thank you, my darling. Excellent. So this will be the first time I've done a live for Alchemy of Art. There may be some more. I've been was guest designer for 3 months, and that 3 months is up, but Carolina has spoken to me, which is lovely, and I may well be doing some more. If the red button live is present on your screen as you're watching me live. If it's not, then you're watching it on replay, so hashtag replay and I will know that you're watching and I can respond. And thank you for taking the time to come back and see what is going on. Good evening, Judy. Welcome, my darling. So Jan, Judy is the DT coordinator for Alchemy of Art. Hi, so she and I have spoke quite a lot, and good evening Sheila, welcome, welcome. So this live this evening is going to be in English. I'm really sorry for the Polish ladies. I don't speak any Polish with the possible exception of Dobra, but that's about it. But I will see if I have my phone set to automatically translate, so I will see what you're asking, but I may not be able to give you the answer in Polish, so hopefully someone else can do that, but I will hopefully answer the questions as we do. Good evening, Liz. So we've got quite a lot to do this evening, so, and as you can see, I have done quite a lot of fussy cutting. Yeah, there really are, probably, I don't know, about 100 elements there, possibly, maybe, possibly more, who knows, but yeah, there's a lot of elements there. Let me just pop those for safekeeping on there so that we don't go appending them on the floor and mixing them with the spares. The cut-out elements come from this collection, which is Whispers of the Mounting, SZEPTYGORAAWOTM-10. I have a little bit taken from the 12 by 12, which ends 07, and this is the rice paper we're going to use this evening. Thank you, Judy. And I have what I call an embroidery hoop, but I think that gets translated into Hungarian. When they translate it, becomes tambourine, which of course in the UK is a musical instrument. So that's a novel concept, if ever there was one. And it wouldn't be alive for me without a whole mountain of clay pieces to paint, which may well take us a little while. But as I say, it wouldn't be alive for me if we didn't have lots of clay pieces. So I'm going to start with, this is just a piece of cotton cloth that I was donated by friends during COVID because they were making COVID masks, and so I've got lots left, and so rather than waste it, I'm using up bits and things, and the fact that some areas are discoloured won't matter because we're being frugal. So this is just some Pentart Express glue. I'm using this because it will dry fairly quickly and it's going to help stick my fabric in place in my hoop, which is always cool. And then I can then leave the extra fabric in there, and I'll be able to take it out, cut off the excess after the live when everything else has dried. So let's just pop that onto there. That can go over there. We can then pop our frame over the top, make sure we haven't got any wrinkles, and then just tighten this up so that it's nice and tight and we've got a surface to work on. And there's an excessive amount of fabric there, but that's fine. So let me just take a little bit of a a trim, and as I say, I will trim it nearer after the live. And the reason I've added the glue is to help stop it move until it's all set in place. But if we get rid of some of this, which will be distracting, and as I say, once everything is dry, I can then trim that, and I might tidy up the back with a little bit of lace because it will look prettier long term. But for now, that will do and give me a surface to work on. So let's get rid of that. Let's put the fabric scissors out of harm's way so I don't pick those up and get them mixed up. And then this is the rice paper image that I have chosen, and this comes as two different images on AAWOTM RP02. So let's just take a little bit of clean water and cut this out. Pop around here. We're just going to use this as the background of our piece, and of course it's much easier to blend edges but ultimately with that. So if I put my hand on the piece I want to protect and just pull gently, this is going to help take out the edges, so I've not got a sharp edge anywhere, and it just will feather those edges really nicely. And I just find pulling away and protecting the surface that I'm wanting to keep is a good way around it. There we are. So these are really fabulous quality rice papers that are a joy to work with. Cool. Okay, so we're going to pop that onto here. So I have some ordinary decoupage glue. I'm not intending washing this piece, so it doesn't matter which decoupage glue I use for this. If it was going to go onto a piece for wearing, then clearly I would use a fabric decoupage glue that's intended to be washed, but that doesn't matter for me at this point in the process. So there we are. So I don't know what else is going on in this world today, but we're fairly quiet, and that's just fine, isn't it? We all have things that we have to get on and do, but I have to say that the alchemy papers are lovely, and I know most people who know me will know that I do love a little bit of fussy cutting. Can't think why, but I do. So let's just do that. Let's just tighten that down there. I can see a little wrinkle where that's poking under there. Not that that's going to be an issue long term. So we're going to make sure that this is upright so that my river and boat scene is vaguely in the right place, and the text is running horizontally, because it won't look so good if it's not. And then we can just take these out and I can work from the centre off. Yes, it's a bit bouncy because I'm working on a surface, but that's okay. Let me just lift that. You can see that it's bubbling underneath there. There we are. We'll take that in, pop it into place. As I say, I'm deliberately not worrying about using a fabric decoupage medium because I'm not intending washing this, but if I was, I would absolutely use a fabric decoupage glue. There we are. Let's just work out those bubbles because they won't look good. There we are, and work from the centre outwards. There we are. Thank you, Judy. There we are. So I trust everyone is well. I'm on tender hooks this evening, not because I'm worried about the live, but because my daughter had an interview on Tuesday and we are waiting for the results of that today, because they were interviewing some more people and she started work, so she hasn't phoned to let me know. So I guess it will be very late this evening before I actually get to find out. So there we are. So we have this piece popped down, and I need it to have a little bit of a dry before I can add any colours onto that background to blur my edges a bit better than we have. Good evening, Jill. Welcome, welcome. I don't suppose you have heard from Jenny or via Tom what's going on vis-a-vis. Oh, you've got your fingers crossed too. Lovely. Now, Yes. Hey, there we are. So, as I say, I think we might have had a few more people join that I can see. So you can use rice paper on any material that you want with the correct glue on correct surfaces. I've decoupaged fabric bags, cushions, aprons, so lots of different things that you can use for it. And I have a veritable collection of moulded pieces here. These all come from small Prima moulds, and I've done my usual for those people who follow me. These have all been cast in resin, but they could just as easily have been cast in in air dry clay. It's just my preference to work with resin, and then it's been primed with white gesso this time. So we can colour these, and I've deliberately chosen slightly more muted earthy tones rather than bright real brights for this, because I think that will work, and I'm going to end up with painty fingers, and it wouldn't be alive if that I was doing it without it. But there we are. Good evening, Paola. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for writing in English for me so I can say your name and recognise you. Thank you so much for joining me on my first live for Alchemy of Art. It's much appreciated. It's always a little bit of an unknown when doing a live, and as to whether people will or won't like what you're doing, or will or won't tune in. So it's nice to see people doing so. The Alchemy of Art papers in the UK are available from a lovely lady called Sarah Wright, who can be contacted via Facebook. And then for those of you in Ireland, or who are happy to get ship in from Southern Ireland or the Republic of Ireland, then the lovely Agnieszka Baska from 14 Craft Bar stocks them as well. So these are I'm not making a project that you can't get the pieces for, and as I say, the moulds are Prima ones, so again fairly readily available. But you could substitute any leaf mould, any floral mould, that you might happen to have in your stash, or you could leave out the moulded pieces completely. The choice is, of course, entirely yours. Good evening, Lorraine. Thank you, thank you, thank you. There we are. So we just have a little bit of colouring to do. This is, I think, using moulds is definitely a characteristic of most of my makes. I'm maybe not as mould obsessed as some people, but they definitely feature an awful lot. Lovely. So from Northern Ireland you could either get shipped in from the UK, or that you could get them shipped over from over the border from 14 Craft Bar quite happily. I have a feeling that Judith might be in Judith lives in Southern Ireland, I think, rather than in Northern Ireland. But it's good to have different things, and it's nice to try and promote small brands and to spread the word. It's too easy for the big brands to overwhelm everything, and then I think as crafters we will all be the poorer for that, because we'll lose choice and variety. So I'm very definitely a fan of supporting and using papers from less well-known companies, because I think that if we don't support the newer companies, they won't survive, and when the older ones become a bit more samey, we then lose out on options. Good evening, Lorraine. Welcome, my darling. Welcome, welcome. I trust you are well. Thank you very much, Judith. I think it's difficult, isn't it? I think there are some of the American, at least a couple of American companies that have alchemy in as well, which is lovely. There we are. Let's see if we can get these leaves all all painted, whilst the other, and I've done this deliberately because it's allowing my fabric glue to dry, which is cool. Whilst we do this, lots of the stems will be tucked underneath, so there we are. Oops. And I had to have some mushrooms because, well, you just have to, don't you? You just have to. So we've got some different colours for those. So there we are. We'll get the green bits done first, and hopefully we won't be here forever and a month of Sunday with me painting, but it just has to be done. I could have done them all up front, but then it wouldn't have been much of a class if I'd painted everything all the same colour all ready for you. Thank you, Judith. I'm sure she's busy. It's not always possible, is it, for everyone to join everything that we do. Right, oops. So there we are. So this is a mushroom mould. It's a Prima mushroom mould. It's rather cute. It's not got needing much greenery on it. And I cast this from resin twice, and whilst it was still flexible, I chopped it up. So these two pieces. So it's given me 3 sets of mushrooms from 2 moulds, and just because a mould is in a certain way does not mean that that's the way you have to use it. So that's always a good activity. I think we might just we'll put some green along the bottom of there. There we are. Don't need to do that, but we'll just put little bits of green along the bottom of there, because we do have some grasses on there. We can just dry brush that up. And we're going to cheat for the stalks because I've used gesso. We're going to leave those predominantly white, but we are going to distress and age them a little bit. So let's just have on these magnolia a little bit of some more of this green. And again, these little pieces have all come from a single piece, and I've broken them up, and I cast this 3 times to get me some different size pieces. Yeah, well, it's busy, isn't it? When you own a business, it's full on and everything stops with you, so you have lots of work to do. We're not going to have very complicated painting because, well, life's too short, isn't it, on a live to do that. And much as I'm quite happy to spend a good few hours here, really that's not a good option for most people where we've got lives to live. There we are. And we could do some of the extra. There we are, we can cover that. There we are. Try and get all of the edges. The bits that I want white I'm going to paint separately anyway once this green has dried, so that's always a good starting point. And I'm just using acrylic paints that are matte. You can use them from any brand that you choose to work with, because it does not matter so very much, as long as they give you the colours that you want and the coverage that you want, then that is just fine. I'm just using the brand that I'm used to working with. There we are. So those are those bits. Those are those bits. Let's just wiggle that in there and remove the remove the green off my hands. Otherwise, it'll end up contaminating everything, and that's never a good look. There we are. Let's pop that. She says, knocking that onto a keyboard. So that's all. We'll lid that paint, and this one is just olive. Don't know what's gone on there. There we are. Hopefully that hasn't interfered with anything. There we are. Computer misbehaving as it's wont to do, probably because I hit something. There we are. Let's just get rid of all of that little lot. So I want some red caps to some of my mushrooms, but not all of them. And I've got a lipstick red here, but that's a really bright colour, and I don't particularly want it to stay that colour. So I'm just going to custom mix in. This is actually vintage lilac, but it's a bready brown in my eyes, nothing to do with lilac. So let's just pop some of that onto there, and then we can custom mix a tone that is maybe a bit softer. There we are, that's better. It's not quite as vibrant because there isn't a true red in the papers. Thank you, my darling. I do a lot of resin paint, mould painting, so I think that makes a big difference. Let me just take that off of those. So I'm going to paint some of these, the caps, with the red, but not all of them. Because, as I say, I think that, and we will need to be moderately careful. We can cheat for the white, which isn't going to stay white. Nice small brushes helps with the painting, I think. I mean, I do quite a lot of different things, but mixed media pieces are definitely one of the things that I do a huge amount of, and then album making is another one of them. So let's have that one, and we'll have another red one here. And it's just a question of making a decision really, and then going for it. But custom cut painting means that I have full control of what I do. There we are. So we don't want all of our mushrooms to be red, because that would be boring. And we certainly don't want them all the same shade of red. There we are. So we'll just do it bit by bit. And we're quite good at cheats activities when it comes to things like this, because there are lots of ways of making your life easier. If you don't want to get a brush out that's got one hair on it, you're welcome to do so if that's your thing, but there we are. We might just decide to paint that one on this one, so we'll have some slightly different. There we are. And then we're going to do some antiquing. There we are. Okay. So those can sit and dry a little bit. There we are. Let's just give that a good wash, and hopefully that we've got the most of the pink out of there, or maybe not, as the case may do. So white, I think, is too white. So this is cream white, and we'll just pop some of that out over there. And I could, she says, there we are. Hello Anya, welcome my darling, thank you so much for sharing. There we are. Hopefully the green now is dry. Like you can see that I've got better colours, and if I get a bit of pink into the magnolia, I'm actually going to do that intentionally, so that's not a problem. If I haven't got a completely clean brush from using that red, maybe don't want it bright red at that point, but I am going to soften the colour a little bit with some pink. So let me just tick up a little bit of that, get rid of most of that onto there, and then I can just add little bits coming out just to soften that through. There we are, and just add some variation into that. And I can pick up some more white and soften it further. There we are. So we're not going to have a single coloured flower. They will all, and by mixing like this, I've got a little bit of the wet green in there, and that's also fine, because that's what Mother Nature will do. She'll mix her colours up onto her pieces, and some of the greenery from the leaves is always present in the flowers anyway. So let's just take tiny flack of that, and we'll add that into there. There we are. So each one of these flowers will end up looking slightly different, but they'll all be from the same, because nature doesn't provide two flowers that are identical. You see that green is still wet, but that's okay. We can sort that out. We can sort it out. So we'll have a slightly yellower version there, but that's it is okay. So there we are. Get rid of most of that. So this cream white is just a softer colour than leaving it the stark white. I can certainly see the difference. Hello Asia, welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. Please feel free to ask away any questions. I said earlier on in the live that I don't speak any Polish. But Judith will help translate if you've got questions that I don't understand, or give you answers or comment to the things that you don't understand. We're going to need to get some more of that out. We might be here a little while painting because I've got a lot of moulds, because that's just the way I like my pieces. That's very much about layering for me. Let's get rid of a lot of that and then add in just the gentlest of shading. There we are. There we are. So let's just get that out a little bit more of this, because we're going to need some more of that. There we are. So even on camera, I can certainly see on my screen that we've got some nice colour variation coming into these because of the mixing. And this freeform mixing on the pieces is actually something I do pretty much all of the time, and it just gives me a soft, almost watercolour effect, but not, yeah, but I've got the permanency of the acrylics when I do this, so that's, yeah, again, makes life helpful for me. Let's knock off lots of that and just add. There we are. And where I've taken too much of, I can just add. So I'm just getting some, just some colour variation into these flowers as I go. And we're actually doing quite well here. We're not. I know I've picked up a significant number of moulds, but I'm not intending spending hours making these necessarily botanically correct, or horticulturally correct, because quite frankly life is too short. But obviously if that's what you want to do, then that's what you do, and make it so that you're happy. There we are. Cool. Maybe I didn't need out quite so much of that off-white, but that's okay. As I say, I'm going to. There we are. So there we are. Have I done all of those flowers? Yeah, I have. Okay. Good evening, Sophie. Hello, Bee. Welcome, my darling. Welcome. So we're just going to add some colour variation into these. So I'm using the vintage lilac because to me it's not a lilac. It's nearer, it's a softer mushroomy brown colour. But if you think it's looks purple, then pick a different brown quite happily. And we've got a little mushroom head there to paint. See, this is the joy, isn't it, of painting with moulds. Yeah, I have some very good there's more on that one Polish friends who introduced me to moulds, and I have been addicted to to using them. Sorry I went silent, but I just needed to be patient while I did that. And I can just see a little bit there. Let's just add that into there. Cool. Let's get rid of that off there. Good evening, Sophie. There we are. So let's just add some of them brown onto there. So we've got some little mushrooms. It needs to be done, doesn't it? It just needs to be done. There we are. And then we might need to give these a little blast dry in a minute. That's okay. We'll do the little butterflies. There we are. So that's not so bad. And it's summer. Well, you'd think it was summer. The weather has not been very good. Good evening, Isabel. Welcome, my darling. Hello, Julie. And Sarah, welcome, welcome, welcome. So one of the butterflies we have in the UK is a blue. So I've just got some blue paint here, and we're just going to cover those because I'm not going to paint out all of the detail on them. I'll add some dry brushing with some of the white later on to bring out the details, but sometimes you just have to say life is too short. So this is just a soft blue. So I've been careful to choose colours that all sit within the same sort of approximate colour tone and value, because that way I will have a nicer overall finished piece. And I did mountains and mountains of fussy cutting, so that's all done. Excellent. Good. Right, let us just pop that over there, let's take that, pop that in there out of the way, and let's give these and my canvas a little bit of a blast dry, because oh dear, why, that doesn't sound good. Dry, wet, sunny, windy night, absolute nightmare, Lorraine. We had hailstones this morning. It was horrible. So let me just get these dry, and then we can do some of the antique. And some of them I'm not going to touch at all. Some of them we are. Some of them we definitely are, because we need to. And in an ideal world, I would almost certainly varnish these before distressing and antiquing them. I'm going to pop this down on the floor in a minute, just so I can have a bit longer to dry while I give my fabric a blast dry, and then we can come back to these. And get these so that they look dry to me now, and so they're not shiny, and I'll pop them on the floor, let any of the moisture come back up to the surface, and then I can go back to them. There we are. Cool. So let's just tuck that lot all onto the floor, and that's going to need to dry. So let's pop this onto here. Yeah, there we are. So let's just, for those who joined later, I've just taken a piece of rice paper with a beautiful mountain scene, lots of detail, and some decoupage glue, and put it onto some stretched cotton fabric. With some decoupage glue, so that, but I want to add some colours around the edges, and we're going to use a product that you really don't see me using very often, because the advantage of the glue that I've used is that it should have sealed this lot through. So I have out some liquid watercolour in ochre. There's not much of it left, needless to say. There we are. But we can take that, and we're just going to give this a little bit of a mist because it's protected, and then we can add this in just out to the edges, mix it in. And blur these edges in. It's not going to be a perfect match, but that's okay. I don't have an issue with that. It's just going to cover it, and I need to do a bit down at the bottom, and it will fade and it will spread. But I know that I'm going to be adding lots of pieces into this area, so that doesn't need to be particularly worried about. As I say, most of you won't be used to seeing me do that, and I have some sand colour here just to darken it off just a little bit. And the rain has started, ladies. You know, oops, did I want that to do that? No, I did not want it to all splurge out, but hey ho. So let's just add, if I just add some of this, and I'm deliberately adding it as splatters because my fabric is wet, and I'm going to then let it just merge itself in. And the heavens have opened properly. There we are. Let's just take that bit off there. Okay, so that is now going to go down there, and we'll have a bit more of a dry. So very simple, very easy. I could have got fabric paints out, but hey ho, I could have got just ordinary acrylics out. It's not pelting it down, but it's definitely raining, my darling. It's definitely raining, which is not good, really, is it? It's not good, it's not good. There we are. So let's just, oh, well, that wasn't clever, but never mind, we'll leave that bit. We'll leave that bit. Okay, so some of these bits I can now add some distressing to. I've got a veritable collection of these around, so I'm using up quite well, but bit by bit. But unfortunately, the rain stuff appears faster than I can use it. So these are the Pentart Antiquing gels, and let's just get a big fluffy, soft, scrubbly brush. That's not going to matter. I just want to add some depth into these pieces, so they're not all a flat colour, and that's fine. So these will, as I've said, will dry, and once they're dry, will be permanent. There we are. But I can now lift this off, and it's just adding a little bit of depth and interest to these pieces. And you asked me why I need all of the colours so everything comes well. Because you use different colours for different things, don't you? There we are. So this will be really great, but this also helps with covering up inaccuracies of painting, because it just adds some details back in and helps lift the colours, and it's muting in some of that quite vibrant green. And I said right at the beginning, I've aimed for colours that will all be settled. I don't think I'm going to be finished in time for your live, but I will join you afterwards. I just appreciate when anyone takes the time to join me, so I try and join other people's lives as much as I possibly can. There we are. And I could have got the white out, but I haven't, so we'll not use the white for those. There we are. I'll pop that one in there to wash. Just allows me to show the details in those fabulous moulds in a way. There we are. Okie dokie. There we are. So that gives us those different colour variations, which is lovely. Let me just pop that over there. Those still need to dry, and this might seem really bizarre because I'm now going to get... You're welcome, my darling, you're welcome. So this is the black antiquing gel. Let's grab another brush. I've got masses of brushes down beside me, but I work in 6 inches of space. So these are little birds. Little blackbirds. Oh, there we are. We could just pull off some little bits of colour onto those. Oops! It just makes life easy. So this is just a very, very simple way of adding a detail to your pieces, or not, as the case may be. But it just, yeah, I'm just wiping off the surface, so it's good at allowing me to do that. And I can add a little bit of colour with some paint if I want to. I might not. I'm going to keep this deliberately fairly simple and pared back tonight. And then we have the mushrooms. And I've deliberately opted not to work with oil products this evening, because they take a while to dry. So I now have the brown antiquing gel out here, and again it's a colour that you won't see me use so very often, but it will help darken some of these mushrooms off and make them blend better with the piece overall. There we are. You could use Umbra Patina, that would work quite nicely. Stamperia Ombre or Pantazan peat paste, or even just plain old-fashioned oil paints will work just as well. So that's good. That is cool. So let's just pop this onto here, and now my mushroom stalks are no longer bright white, because mushroom stalks aren't bright white, are they? So it's a very, very effective technique for just, you know, aging up and dirtying up things. I could have used ochre, I could have used Umbra, but the brown I think is a softer colour for doing this with. There we are. And it's just easy. There we are. And the heavens is definitely opened. And that is the headache of having my craft room as a conservatory. I have beautiful light, but when I go live and it decides to chuck it down, it's definitely noisy. But hey ho, you can't have everything in this world. On the whole, I would rather have good light. So when you're using any of the antiquing projects, just make sure you cover every last area of it, because if you don't, it will look very odd when you're doing it. And yeah, and then I can just wipe this back. It does help if you wipe back with cleaner bits of cloth, and you can take back as much or as little as you want. So my mushrooms now look like they're properly been outside, so that makes sense. But it's not aeroplanes, my darling. Yeah, the airport is 20 minutes south of me, and there are definitely occasions when the flight path is absolutely over the top of us. It shouldn't be today, but it might be at the weekend. It depends a bit on whether they're doing any maintenance. I now need to de-up my fingers and we might add some dry brushing to that. Let's lid that. Let's just bring a little bit of detail onto that. Let's find a nice flat brush that we can dry brush with these butterflies. So let's just pick up some of that, knock most of it off, and then I can soften those down. Just that little bit of white will make a huge difference to the overall pieces of that. So that can go in there. So ladies, that is the painting done. Hey, hey, I hear you all say. Right. So let's just get this dried. And then where is that gone? Well, that's clever. Or not, as the case may be. No doubt it will be on the floor. Oh no, I can see it. Alright, let's just pop some of this into here. Right, excellent. I'm not going to be gluing up at that top, so that's fine, and we can add some dry brushing to that to soften that colour. Yeah, absolutely, but that's the joy of creating, Judith. Absolutely, it would not be. Right, now then, this might prove slightly troublesome. There we are. Let's just shuffle that lot over there. You can't see it, but at least I can reach the pieces that I want, and I have got a glue gel. There we are. Good. And some heavy body gel. So let me start out with my pieces, because I have a plan. Who would have known that I would have had a plan? There should be a third one of them. So and I'm going to go on, off, under, over. And the joy of me using the pin flare is I can put a dollop there, pop it there, and I can lift and build dimension, and I can tuck pieces in and underneath. I don't need to add thick layers if I don't want to, but it's just going to allow me, so that's covering that base layer of that. There we are. So that will help with that. Sorry, that might have made people go dizzy. So I took those and then thought, right, I want mountain scenes and I want some character into my piece. Okay. So there we are. We've got that one and that one. And on the other side, we can add some more pieces. Okay, so I'm building a semicircular composition. So I don't particularly want that all to be white, so much white edged. So we're just going to add a little bit of brown around the edge of that, just to scuffle it up a little bit, and we'll carry on doing this. Mountains aren't flat, so we'll pop that with a little bit of a curve. Pop that. You could use glue gel for this if that's what you wanted to do, and we can build our elements up. So these, as I say, have come out of the extras to cut pad of paper, because that makes sense to me. If you have a scan and cut, you could cut these out with more detail, but they're not difficult to fussy cut out. So we're going to pop our person there, and then we're going to build around. So I have the advantage of knowing what I'm wanting to achieve and where I'm wanting to go, which is always helpful, but the glue gel is going to allow me to lift and move and protect and put stuff in to where I wanted to do. And then I needed a focal point at the front, and I thought, right. And we're going to need to add some of those other pieces. So let me just take this and we're building our mountain scene. So we've got a lake that's sitting within the mountains, if that makes sense. It does in my head. It might not to everyone else, but hey ho, there we are. So we'll pop that onto there, and then we can add this one. It won't take us so long then to add all of our pieces into here. Yeah, it's going to be a busy night in the UK for lives, I think. There we are. So we're building our mountains, our mountain scene, and then we've got another house. So let's just pop houses are flat, aren't they? But hey ho, there we are. So let's just tuck our house into there as if it's at the front of the lake, and we'll soften it down. And I happen to know that I want my fire to be sitting here as a focal, so let's pop that into there. Okay, so I've got lots of spaces, I've got lots of pieces, so let's just then think about adding our nice mushrooms sitting there. Yeah, they're out of proportion to the walker, but hey ho, this is a make-believe piece anyway, and it doesn't matter that it's poked on and off my page in any way, shape or form. And we might well start adding some pieces of greenery in to cover some of these gaps. So let's just pop some of that into there. So we're adding some leaves and some greenery, and we might add another piece of greenery into there. So that sort of makes sense to my brain. And then let's just add another one into here. And then I want to add a little mushroom into there. Whoops. So he's going to poke from under and over. And the gel medium is allowing me to lift and put under, because that's also quite a helpful activity. And this piece is going to go right at the front here at the end of this. So that from there. Now then, let us put some florals in to brighten it up. Yeah, so let's pop that into there. And I can lift that up and pop that in. So we've got my flowers just poking their way out from there. And we might add another piece coming into there, because I think it's going to look quite pretty. There we are. We can pop that there for the moment. Okay, so I've still got quite a lot of space at the bottom from here, but we're going to start adding some of these pieces. So the backpacker will have, at the end of the day, take off his backpacks and pop them down. Oops, she says, pop them down so that they're can dry out by the fire. And we might have more than one person walking the mountains. These pieces are double-sided, so that's always cool. Okay, so we're going to add another backpack into there, and the glue gel is just going to let me do this quite comfortably. Oh, she says, about to drop that for the second time. So let's just pop that there. So we've got those, and then we've got a gap here. So let's just put, I think we'll stick another floral into there. There we are. Or maybe not. Let's just put a leaf, aka a different tree, into there. Pop it at an angle. Let's pop that one in at that angle, so it's I'm building my form and my texture. And then I've got lots of pieces here to tuck in, out and around, and to add in to my piece to fill up this gap here. So I've got an ugly edge there. So let's just pop some of those into there. I'm going to pop that one onto there, tucking in and under. I think I'm not going to use that. Where's my boots? I've got a nice big set of boots here, which we're going to pop so that they're looking in, and we're going to give those a little bit of a shape, and they can be tucked underneath there. And we've got a smaller set of boots, because why not, which can come down here. So we've got our boots by the fire. Yep. She says, dropping everything. So now we have a whole mountain of different florals that we can add into this piece. We've got a little map or a little book. So we're going to pop that into there. Okay. So now we're just going to build some of these florals up and around our piece. Okie-dokie. So that we are going to cover up some of these messy elements along the bottom and disguise it all. So let's just pop that in there. Well, all I've done is scrumple these with my hands as I've done. So they've got a little bit of texture. I don't necessarily mind these having white background. So there we are, because they're florals and they're quite pale. There we are. Pop that up into there. Pop that there. Let's stick that one underneath. And the joy of this glue gel is it's going to allow me to reposition everything as I want to. Thank you. Yeah, okay, Liz. Goodly thought process. Let me just shuffle that in over there. Let's move that over there for you. Is that better? There we are. And then you can see what I'm up to. It would help, wouldn't it? Would help, would help, would help. There we are. Okie dokie. So I have some more little flowers. So let's just pop some of these pieces in to here. Lighten this darker areas up a little bit. Just add some extra bits of colour and softness into the piece. There we are. Is this looking exactly the same as the one that when I prepped it? Absolutely not. It surely is not. But that's okay. I can cope with that. So we've still got a space here to cover, but we've got lots of floral elements here. So let's carry on, and we can do that. And let's just add. So this is why when I'm away, you're welcome, my darling, and when I travel to visit friends, I take with me a whole mountain of fussy cut pieces to add into my pieces, yeah, and then I can add in. So I could add all sorts of extra elements into here, but I'm building my layers, my composition, my depth, my interest. She says, getting that glue gel everywhere, but she doesn't really want it, so that can then go tucked into there. So I've got a little garden at the bottom. Now I've still got some extra pieces to pop in. So let's just pop that there. Let's just take a leaf and pop that so it's popping out from the sides from here. And the glue gel's allowing me to lift and build and add as I want to. I think I'm going to add another one of those just into there because I can and because I have. So that can go there. And let's just see. Do I want that there? Do I want that there? Or do I actually want it just hanging off the edge? No, I don't want it hanging off the edge, because to me the hanging off the edge isn't going to work. But we might just need another bit under there. Or no, let's just pop it on that side, just because I've got an awful lot going on this side, and I'm thinking that it might just sit nicer there, tucked underneath that. So we have the butterfly, so we can pop one of those over there. We can pop one of those over there. And we have another piece of mushroom, because you can't just have two areas, can you? So let me just see where I want to pop that mushroom. And I think I'm going to pop that mushroom just down there. I took it right into there. And I'm not afraid to mix and match and layer and add to my pieces. And I think that's one of the things that I learned long ago. You've got your pieces, then you know, just don't be afraid to you know, add into your pieces as you want to. So that can go there. Have I got many pieces left? Not really. I've got one very big leaf, and I'm going to leave that out because I just think it's going to look nicer without that in there. I'm going to layer that flower onto the top of there. I'm not going to add any of the blues, and I'm not going to add that. So that's pretty much used the pieces that I was going to put in. I do have a little bird, two little birds that we can then pop in if we want to. I think that one will work there, and I think I just need to decide where I like them. So that little one can go onto the top of that mushroom, and this one can be sat down at the bottom of those mushrooms. So this glue gel will take a few hours to dry, Lorraine, okay, but will dry reasonably quickly. So post live, when it's all dry, I'm going to trim off the ugly bits of the fabric. I've got my beautiful mountain scene with my walking through, my man walking through, and lots of my elements all added, and I can add some fabric then as a hanger to it when it's all dried, and I will then take some photographs. So for tonight, that is all I'm intending doing. I hope it's been an enjoyable live for everyone for my first time on Alchemy of Art, and I'm hoping that we'll get to do some more lives in English to make life easier, because much as most of us can happily carry on and follow in follow creators when they're making in their native language, sometimes it's nice to be able to actually understand exactly what's being said. Thank you, Judy, much appreciated, my darling. So for now, please everyone, keep safe, enjoy the rest of the evening no matter what you're going to do, support your other creatives, and I will see you back on social media fairly soon. Bye.